2026 is the midterms, and something big just happened in Tennessee in that special election. Now, many of you may have known about this already, but there was a Democrat challenger that was running in this particular district, that Tennessee District 7. And it was looking close in the polls, right? People were saying, whoa, how is it possible that a Democrat is doing so well in a red district? So that is a district that Donald Trump handsomely won. She did not win. However, she did move the numbers. And that's what a lot of people are talking about today. The fact that this could be a prediction of what is to come in 2026. I think what we're starting to see is that some of those independents that may have supported Trump in 2024 are moving in the other direction to the Democratic Party. Let's go ahead and get into some of those numbers that happened the other night. Afton Ben was running against Matt Van Epps in this Tennessee special election. And of course, like I said, Matt Epps did go on to win 53.5%, as was estimated at that point in time, with 75% in, and she was at 45.5%. However, she was able to make gains in this district that Kamala did not. And that's what people are sounding the alarms about. A quick recap here.
Folks, I've been dancing around it. I think if you've been able to read between the lines, you've known for the last 20 minutes, but it really kind of became obvious. Matt Van Epps, the Republican nominee for Congress in Tennessee's 7th District, has won the special election to replace Representative Mark Green, the Republican who resigned his seat. Van Epps defeating Democrat Afton Bain. 3/4 of the vote now in. It is an 8-point margin for Van Epps. It may climb still as more votes come in, but this is a district, again, that Donald Trump won by 22 points last year. He won it by 15 points in 2020. It is a district where polling last week, somewhat surprisingly, showed a very close margin of 2 points, a flood of national attention from both parties in the final days of this campaign. And I think it seems pretty clear Republicans talked about waking up their base with that flood of activity in the last week. It certainly seems, based on the performance of Van Epps with Election Day voters, people who went to the polls today and voted, didn't vote early, went today. Van Epps is getting big turnout, it would appear, and massive margins, enough to withstand strong early vote performance from Bain, strong performance, I would say, overperformance from Bain in Davidson County. So again, Matt Van Epps, the winner of Tennessee.
So did you hear what he said? Strong performance from Afton Bain in Davidson County. Davidson County includes Nashville. I have a friend that lives in Nashville. So she was able to make gains, at least for the Democratic Party. There's a number of things here that could have happened. It could be that more people came out and supported the Democrat, or it could be that less people showed up to support the Republican candidate. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that that is a special election. Special elections usually do have a lower turnout, so just keep that in mind. However, it does still say something that the numbers are moving towards the Democratic Party in a red district, and it did not work that way in 2024 for Kamala Harris. And some people are saying that this is a foreshadowing of what is to come. We're going a little bit more here, and I'm going to show you what's happening with the GOP overall.
7 special election. Folks, stay tuned if you're still watching, but I got to do an update for News Now. You're going to get to watch that. I got to keep my mouth shut for the...
Yeah. So he went on to win it. The Wombat said Tennessee 7 is Marsha Blackburn's old house district. Not surprised it went to Republicans still. Yeah, I remember Marsha Blackburn. I remember Marsha Blackburn. So let's look at what happened. Check this out. From Politico, despite the loss, Democrats overperformed in bright red Tennessee House race. This is the part that I think a lot of people don't really want to reckon with. They are saying that Afton Ben, at that time, she was on pace to significantly outperform Kamala Harris. Let me just show you here. Here we go. With 95% of the vote in, Afton Ben, I forget how to pronounce her name, was behind Republican Matt Van Epps 54% to 45% in the closely watched special election on Tuesday. The narrow margin gave Democrats cause to celebrate as they fight to retake the House next year, and it spelled trouble for Speaker Mike Johnson's efforts to retain his slim majority. Even though Van Epps won, the Republicans significantly underperformed Trump's 22-point rout in the district last year, as Ben lured voters with a well-funded campaign focused on ... affordability. So she ran a populist campaign. So here's what this really means, folks. In the Republican Party, they're watching this. People have to remember that in the House, yes, Republicans have control of the House, but it's slim. So come 2026, the Democrats are pretty much hoping that they're going to be able to flip that. And this race in particular, I think, is very important because that's a red district. This is what I was telling people when I told you guys just a couple of nights ago that I have friends down in the Carolinas, and they even told me that some of the people who supported Trump in 2024 are already swinging back over towards the other direction. So this is what happens when people, when people aren't getting the affordability that they need, when they're not getting those core economic, issues met for their lives, people will swing back and forth. We saw it happen. We saw people, vote for Trump in 2016, and some of those people turned around and voted for Joe Biden in 2020. Then we saw people vote for Biden in 2020 and turn back around and vote for Donald Trump because of economic issues. And then we also saw a lot of people stay home. So don't forget that. It goes on to say here, Democrats projecting confidence after their election day overperformance last month throughout the country quickly highlighted the thinner than usual margin as a sign of their strength heading into next year's midterms when they must net 3 seats to seize control of the House. This is what people need to see. They only need 3. That's the thing about having that narrow margin, right? So let me show you what the numbers are showing now. This is definitely not good for the Republican Party. Not good at all.
Overnight, there was a special election for an open House seat in the state of Tennessee, and the Republican candidate won. And a win is a win, right? Well, still, Democrats seem to be smiling this morning. Why? Because the margin of defeat was much slimmer than Republicans have been doing in that district. With us now, CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton. Let's talk about the numbers.
Let's talk about the numbers. Republicans should be running for the hills this morning because the blue wave is building, my dear friend, Mr. Berman. What are we talking about here? Well, Matt Van Epps, the Republican candidate, he won it by 9, but this is a district that Donald Trump won by 22 points, 15 points, 17 points. This is a 13-point gain for the Democrats in terms of the margin, and excuse time for Republicans is over because I hear all about these special elections. Oh, the turnout's so low. It's not representative of what happened in the midterm election. The turnout last night in Tennessee's 7th district was equal to the turnout in the 2022 midterm election.
Pause. That's the part I wanted everyone to really hear. So the numbers are showing that the turnout from that special election were equal to the 2022 midterm election. That is not good. Donald Trump is, I know he's sitting back there trying to pretend like this isn't happening. Mike Johnson is just like, whatever, we got this in the bag. But people are shifting, and everybody needs to pay attention to this. That's a big difference. You don't go from plus 17, plus 15, plus 22. So in 2024, Donald Trump had plus 22 in that district, the highest of all those years. And now with this particular House seat, plus 9. Let's continue.
So the blue wave, it seems to be building right out of center of Tennessee.
Interesting. I mean, so in terms of the numbers, the turnout looked like a regular midterm election, not a special election.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And of course, we have, about 11 months
All right. What have we seen in terms of trends in all the special elections the last year?
Okay, I wouldn't necessarily give a hooting and hollering about one special election in Tennessee. I love the people in Central Tennessee, but Central Tennessee is nothing special compared to the rest of the country. But what we see happening is, take a look here. Okay, 2025 U.S. House special elections. Dems outrunning Kamala Harris. A lot of blue here, a lot of blue, which is what I think the nation might look like a year from now if these results hold. Arizona 7, you see a 17 outperformance of Kamala Harris. 23.
Let's pause here for Arizona, because that's a big one. Arizona plus 17 for Democrats. Donald Trump won Arizona. Biden won it in 2020. Donald Trump won it in 2024. Look at these states, guys. Plus 17 for Arizona, plus 23 for Florida, plus 16 for Florida District 6, plus 13 for Tennessee 7. Plus, all of the numbers are moving in favor of the Democratic Party. This is that pendulum that I was telling you about. This is what happens when people don't get their economic needs met.
Points in Florida 1, 16 points in Florida 6, 13 points in Tennessee 7, 28 points in Texas 28, and then 17 points in Virginia 11. So we've seen it throughout the nation, whether you go from the suburbs of Washington, D.C., all the way to the southwest in Arizona, whether you're looking at Texas, whether you're looking at Tennessee, whether you go down to Florida, we have seen the Democratic outperformance of Kamala Harris happening across the political map. What happened last night in Tennessee ain't just staying in Tennessee. It is spreading itself throughout the nation. As I said, to me, looking at these results, it looks like a blue wave is building.
And it's not.
And we're going to pause here, because here's the thing. I didn't think that she was going to win. I didn't think that she was going to beat the Republican, because I've seen this thing before where the numbers will show that it looks like it's pretty close. But when the voting day happens, particularly, especially in a district that is a red district, people come out to vote that didn't participate in the poll, right? So I didn't think that that was going to turn blue. But what he is showing you is that the numbers are moving in that direction. 2026 is just around the corner. And the crazy part about all this is, at the end of the day, I think what people are going to realize is, okay, we keep switching back and forth. A lot of those independents, they keep switching back and forth, and you're still running into the economic problem. And that's because of this. The American empire is on a decline. And that's something that we just cannot sit up here and try to ignore anymore. We can't skate our way around that issue. This is why when I say talk is cheap because a lot of these candidates, they talk a good game when they're running, but then once they get in, they go along with what the party leadership wants. That can only continue for so long. When people are sitting back and they're noticing that prices think about how many years it's been. Pandemic was in 2020. It's almost 2026. The economy has been a mess for the past 5 years, 6. So that can only work for so long. Eventually, it's going to get to the point where people are like, listen, none of you guys are really helping us. None of you guys are doing anything for the working class people. And what I would hope is that at that point, more people would say, you know what, we need to start voting for people that are independent. We need to vote for people that are third party. We need to also build dual power within our own communities. And I think that's the piece that's really missing. It's not just about the voting, because at the end of the day, when you face these economic issues, who is there to help you out? A lot of times it's family, friends, people within the community, those of us that do mutual aid. So my hope is that people are going to start to put more focus on building those dual power systems. We have another mutual aid event that's coming up December 20th for those of you that are in the Boston area. So I'll be sharing information about that as well, because that's just the reality. It's cold. It's really cold right now. We're dealing with what is called this polar vortex or whatever they want to call it. It's very cold right now. Nobody wants to be outside right now. If you don't have a home, this is definitely not the time to be homeless, right? So people need help. And yeah, electoral politics, as I said before, it's one of the tools that you can use in your toolbox. But my fear is that all this swinging back and forth, it makes me feel like people don't really get it. That like When Democrats were in power, they could have done these things. Republicans are in power now. They could do these things. Ask yourself why you keep like switching back and forth. You know, ask yourself that question. Let's go on a little bit more here.
Just that it's blue. It's that it's double-digit blue.
It is
in
double.
this case.
Exactly right. It's double-digit blue. I will note, I looked at the stats. If, in fact, you had a 13-point shift like we saw in Tennessee, and you applied that to the 2024 presidential map, we are talking about a gain for Democrats of north of 40 seats.
All right. In terms of the history, what does this mean as we project forward?
Okay. So we're looking at these special elections. We're sort of applying these hypothetical numbers, right, in terms of, Democrats would gain north of 40 seats if, you moved everything over, 13 points from the 2024 presidential result. But we actually have history to show that what happens in special elections doesn't just stay in special elections. It spills over to the midterm results. Special elections and midterm results. I just keep going to this. When a party outperformed in special elections since 2005, 5 out of 5 times, they went on to win a majority in the U.S. House of Representatives. What happened last night in Tennessee is a very, very bad omen for Republicans and a very, very good omen for Democrats.
And this is something that I feel like they're not really I feel like Trump isn't really focusing on. The Republican Party altogether isn't really wanting to pay attention to, but this is happening. And I know some people said, well, it's just his first year, but look how much he's done within this first year. And he ran on this message of we're going to fix it. I'm going to get things back to the way it used to be. Biden messed up the economy. I'm going to fix it. And people are looking around and people say it's not fixed. So those core economic issues, that's a big one. And she ran on affordability. So talk is cheap, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to actually do the action. You have to actually do what you said you were going to do when you were running the campaign. So stay tuned for 2026 because that's going to be interesting. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.